Hello guys, today we are going to study passive voice, that is a structure that we haven't reviewed yet. Actually, all the things that I've been teaching you during this semester, they are formed in the active voice, that is the normal form that you already know. So what is the difference that we are going to find between the passive voice and the active voice? Okay, it is very easy. We are going to use a passive voice when we want to emphasize the things that happen. It means the action itself. And when we don't care about who is the doer of the action, what does that mean? That when you say, for example, my bike was stolen, you know that something happened, but you don't know who did it. So that is the thing that we are going to do in the passive voice, that we are not going to emphasize the who, we are going to emphasize actually the what. Okay. Also, when you use this, is because you want to sound more polite. Also, you want to sound more kind to other people. For example, when you say you made a mistake, it is like very rude. So the people that is speaking to you is going to feel like, oh, very very sad. So when you say a mistake was made, as you are not directing that thing to a person, is going to be more polite. It is going to be like in general, not directed to one person. Okay, so we are going to use it, and this is the thing that I want you to be very careful with. We are going to use it specifically with scientific or very formal speeches. In this case, remember that for level 6, we are going to write scientific posters. So of course we need to use this kind of a speech. And with my level 4 students, remember that we are going to make a documentary, and that documentary needs to be also spoken with some passive examples. Okay, so we are going to use it, as I was telling you, in a scientific form with your posters, and in a very formal speech with your documentaries. Okay, so please be very careful with that. And the general structure that you are going to have for a passive voice is going to be very easy. I am going to ask you to be very careful with this. You are going to need only 3 elements. The first element is going to be the object. The object, remember, that is the part of the sentence in which the verb has an effect. Then you are going to use an auxiliary verb, that in this case is going to be the verb to be. Okay, so please be very careful with that. And after the verb to be, remember that you are going to need a past participle form, that you are very familiar now with the past participles. Okay, so remember that when we talk about passive voice, we are going to think in 3 things mainly. You are going to need an object, you are going to need an auxiliary verb, and you are going to need a verb in the past participle. Okay, that is the only things that we are going to need, only 3 elements. And how are you going to make a transformation in your sentences with active form into a passive form? It is going to be very easy, and I am going to summarize this process of transformation in 3 simple rules. Okay, then rule number 1 is going to be that you have to identify the object of your active sentence, that, as I was telling you, is the thing or the object or the person or the place or whatever that where the verb has an effect. Okay, then in the number 2, I am going to ask you to identify the main tense of your sentence, and according to that tense you are going to choose the right form of your verb to be. And finally, as a step number 3, you are going to identify a main verb for your active sentence, and you are going to write it in a past participle form. So as you can see, we are going to do it in 3 very simple steps that are going to be: number 1, identify the object. Number 2, identify the right form of your verb to be. And number 3, you are going to identify the main verb, and then you are going to write it in a past participle form. Okay, so this is very easy, very simple. So let's do it. Let's do it with an example. So the example that we are going to transform is the following one. It says, Jenny prepares dinner once a week. Okay, that is your active sentence. How do we know that it's active? Because you have a subject, you have a verb, and you have a complement. That is the active form, the active voice that you are very familiar with. Okay, so what are we going to do first then? with the rules that I have already explained in the other slide. Okay, we are going to apply that process. So the step number 1 is going to be to identify the object. Okay, you are going to use it. You are going to identify the object by asking what. Okay, remember that the object is a word in which the verb has effect. So what is the thing that we are going to ask here? We are going to ask, what does Jenny prepare? And the answer is going to be dinner. Okay, therefore the object of your sentence is going to be dinner, and in this easy way you are going to find the object of any other sentence. Whichever sentence you tell me, you are going to do the same, exactly the same. You are going to make the same question and you are going to identify your object. Okay, once that you have your object, and with this step I am going to be I need you to be very careful with this one, because it's the one in which you have more confusion when you are making the transformation. Once that you have your sentence, for example, the one that we work with, okay, remember that it is the same example. When you have, for example, Jenny prepares dinner once a week, what do we have here? Remember that here we have a verb in the present simple, okay? So if we have a verb in the present simple, remember that for the verb to be, we have three forms. We have am, is, or are. Remember that as our object in the other slide was dinner, you need to choose the right auxiliary verb for dinner. So in this case, as you have a singular of the third person, you are going to use is. Okay, so your sentence is going to be dinner is. That is the second step. You have already choose the verb to be based on the main tense of the sentence that you are transforming. Okay, very well done. Now remember that you are going to use it with all the tenses. You can do this with all the tenses. Here in the chart that I am showing you now, you can see all the forms for singular and for plural that you can use according to the tense that you have in your active sentence. What does that mean? If you have, for example, simple present, it is am, is, or for a plural, are. If you have present continuous, then your auxiliary must be am being, is being, or for the plural, are being. Okay, and for every single tense here, guys, you are going to have the example, so you can come back to this chart in order for you to know exactly which is the form of the verb to be that you need. Okay, so please be very careful with this. The chart continues in the following slide as well. You have here, for example, the simple past, the past continuous, the past perfect, the future simple, going to, and the modal verbs that are very easy. You are going to use the modal verb and be, and that's it. Remember that this chart, you need to memorize it, but if you don't want to memorize it right now, remember that you can go back to the chart and there is no problem. But be very careful that you choose the right auxiliary verb, the one that you need. Okay, very well done. So the last step is the easiest one. As I was telling you, the other ones are tend to be more complicated. But here with the step 3, we are not going to have any problem, because we are only going to have to identify the main verb. Remember that the main verb is the action that your subject is doing. In this case, for example, what does Jenny do? Jenny prepare. So in this case, your main verb is going to be prepares. And we need to transform prepares into a past participle that in this case is going to be is prepared. It is prepared, and as you can see with that third element, you have already completed your passive sentence. So you have, for example, now that you are ready to join the result. So the result of Jenny prepares dinner once a week is going to be dinner is prepared once a week. Okay, normally guys, when you know the name of the doer of the action, when you know the name exactly of the person that did the action, you can add the subject by adding the preposition by. Okay, so for example, in our sentence, the one that we transform, you can use dinner is prepared once a week by Jenny. Okay, when you don't know the exact name, you are not going to use a personal pronoun. Actually, you need to use an object pronoun. So for example, if you have she prepares dinner once a week, you are going to have dinner is prepared once a week by her. As you can see, this is not a personal pronoun. This is going to be an object pronoun. Okay, and that's it. Okay, I am going to ask you that for this practice, guys, you are going to transform the 9 sentences that we have here. I am going to ask you please to send them in a message in WhatsApp. You are going to send me your transformed sentences in a message of WhatsApp, so I can check that you are following the 3 steps and that you don't have any problem. Remember that if you find this confusing, if you don't understand certain step, you can ask me in our following conference. There is going to be for level 6, remember, on Wednesday and Thursday, and for level 4 we are going to check this on Friday in the sessions that we normally do. Okay, so please go back to the presentation if you have another problem. If you don't understand something, please write it down so I can solve your doubt during our conference. And that's it, guys. That's it for today. And please write your questions about the passive voice. Okay, so I'll see you in the conference. Bye bye.